Hi, my name is Linda Mager. I'm an assistant professor here at TCNJ in the Educational Leadership Program. I'm sharing with you today how I approach my research using quantitative and mixed methods. The first study I published was a quantitative study, Childhood Social Capital and Post-Secondary Educational Attainment. What I wanted to know was what types of risk factors from elementary and middle school predicted whether students would finish college. When you look at the three kinds of quantitative studies, this is correlational research. Although experimental research is the gold standard, so to speak, of quantitative research, because it's the only research that supports causal claims, I don't have enough time to do an experiment where I split children into a treatment and a control group, expose some kids to risks, and then see if there are statistical differences in who graduates from college. It would also be completely unethical to do this. Could have done a survey and asked people what kinds of risks they were exposed to as kids, and then asked them whether they graduated from college. But that would have introduced something called retrospective bias, which just means that people don't remember things very accurately. Instead, I did a correlational study, which means I used statistics to look for relationships between things that happened without me trying to change anything. I used an existing data set from the panel study of income dynamics. This is a national data set with thousands of participants from the University of Michigan, which has been following the same families since the 1960s. Researchers check in with the participants every other year and ask all sorts of intrusive questions like how much money do you make and how much do you spend on groceries. The data set I used tracked a group of a couple thousand children for over 20 years, testing them, surveying their teachers, and asking them all sorts of questions about their families. It is still tracking them today. What I learned is that you can predict 8% of degree completion by the number of risk factors kids have been exposed to in the elementary and middle school years. The figure rises to 25% when you add in family income and parent education. The risk factors I identified are low parent expectations, single-parent households, lack of connectedness with the school, and extracurricular participation. Quantitative methods are great because the large sample sizes mean that the results may represent large groups of people. But I only know about the variables that I studied, so if there's something important that is missing, I won't catch it. Lately, I've been relying more on mixed methods in my work. That means I use both quantitative and qualitative methods together. This study that I recently submitted to a journal focuses on teacher evaluation. I wanted to know whether teachers and principals think the student learning objective component is effective. So I conducted a survey of teachers and principals in the 17 states that use SLOs. In New Jersey, they call them SGOs. I followed up the survey by interviewing 27 teachers and principals from around the country. What I learned is that more teachers than principals dislike SLOs, partly because a lot of teachers are cheating on them. I would not have found out the cheating part without the interviews, but the survey carries a little more weight because it represents about 300 people, which is too many for me to interview. Mixed methods has fewer limits because the weaknesses of quantitative methods are balanced out by the strengths of qualitative and vice versa. It's also twice as much work because you're doing both types of methods. Survey research is almost always biased because it is perception data, meaning that it represents people's opinions, and the people who choose to respond to surveys usually have stronger opinions. So in summary, there's no way to conduct research that does not have weaknesses. You just have to choose the right tool for the job.